Hello everybody, it's Chris again. Today I have the Dynamic Discs Lucid Convict with the stamp stock release. If you know the history of this disc, it was released in 2015 as an AmWorld's fundraiser, and then it had some various other iteration stamps, and the mold was mixed with was hit with mixed reviews. But what I have for you is the stock stamp release from this year, and what I think is actually what the mold was supposed to be. So, in the video, what you're going to see is myself and Dan Mao, who we've seen some other videos, throwing this up against the Longbowman. Now, both of us threw the Longbowman before the Convict. Instead of the Culverin, we'd thrown both of them, and it was a preference thing, but had similar results from either one of them. So I figured Convict needed to be tested against that slot to see what it would do. What you're going to see. You're going to see hyzer releases, you're going to see flat releases, you're going to see slightly tilted releases. We wanted to get a good feel of how this disc stacked up against the Longbowman. And what we found across the board was it's not as overstable. It's a much straighter disc, it's a much more stable disc as opposed to overstable, but it still has a nice reliable fade at the end. For me, what that turned out to be was a great bridge, whereas the Longbowman was in between the Escape and the Felon, but was really much closer to the Felon. The Convict is much closer to the center of those two discs for me. It just fits that slot better. What you're going to see, hyzer releases, finishes nice on hyzer. Straight, stays really straight with just a nice center fade at the end, maybe a little bit of skip if it's fresh. And Annie, it's not going to come out as fast as the Longbowman, but it does fight out at the end as long as you don't really crank it over. As opposed to the old 2015 runs, which would turn over for days if you threw them right. So that's what you're going to see on the videos. So reviewing it, Dan Mao called it the disc that he was missing in his bag but had forgotten about it. And for me, like I said, it fit that slot better. And actually, in the last 6 weeks since we started videoing this, it has become the mainstay of my bag. I've reached for it more and more on tunnel shots, especially wooded tunnel shots, where before I was having to throw a touchy finesse shot. I find I can put a lot more snap and power on these. This is my slightly beat-in one. I'll throw it and I know it's going to come down soft and land, maybe just a little bit of skip to the left, or if I'm really worried about torquing and I need put even more power on it, I'll throw the fresher one because I know it's not going to stand up as much, and I know it's going to fade, especially if it's a little bit of dog leg at the end. To further that, because I like the feel of the disc so much, this is probably one of my favorite releases of the year at this point. I actually went back to the 2015s because I know they're a little bit flippier, and I'm testing my bag currently, and probably till the end of the season whenever I can get out, to see if I can fill my fairway slot from below the Felon all the way out with just older run Convicts and current run Convicts. So obviously I like the disc. May not be the same for you, but for me it was has a great familiar feel and the perfect flight for how I throw. As a reminder, I throw maybe 425 maxed out with my long range drivers. Dan, who you're going to see on the video, is at that point in time throwing right around 350 maxed out with his drivers, so you'll see a little bit of difference in the structure of the throws for us. So, as always, if you have questions, put them in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them for you. If you have any other discs you want to see reviews of, put them in there as well. I will have a review of the Queen coming out in the next week or so. We have all of the throws videoed at this point. I just need to edit them together and get some commentary on it as well. Also, I did try the headphones today with the microphone. Hopefully the sound is a bit better. If it is, give me a thumbs up or just say, good job, that works. Or just ignore it, it's fine too. So, I will see you guys later. Next review will be the Queen. Bye. This is Dan's first set of throws. You're going to see him throw the blue Longbowman, followed by first a white and then a blue Convict. The white Convict is actually now in Dan's bag. He took it home after the second day of testing and has been using it ever since. It's become one of his go-tos for his forehand and a reliable disc in the wind for him on his backhand. In case you've been worried that Dan's about to get hit by a freight train, that noise is actually my two dogs, Dutch and Daisy. They're trained disc retrievers, so when we throw it too deep into the woods on the right, they'll go in and get it for us. This is Dan's second set of throws. Same three discs in the same order, but with a little more variety. The two blues are going to be thrown in a slightly higher line, and the white is going to be thrown with a much straighter pull to get to a lower line drive with a little bit of fade at the end. Dan's been a lot of fun to watch this year as he progressed. If you watched some of the earlier videos, Dan was maxing out around 325 all through the spring and the early parts of the summer. But with some of the drills he'd been doing, his hit point started to click. and now he's regularly hitting 350 to 375 and has actually told me, and I've seen him get close to 400 toward the end of the season. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how Dan develops through the summer, or through the winter, and then into next year. These are the first couple throws for me on the video. This is my used VIP longbowman first, followed by a brand new Lucid Convict. You'll see the Convict stands up just a little bit more than the Bowman, which I think is pretty consistent with how the two discs have flown for me overall. One low, one high. I almost took this next throw out of the video, but I realized I wanted to keep it in just to show what happens when you flex out a Convict. You're going to see it. It was a really bad release with too much tilt, and you can see it turns until it hits the wood line. What you can barely see in the wood line is that it was flattening out and trying to fight back at the end. So then I just threw another low line, which you're going to see more of in the field coming up. For the first set of field shots, you're going to see the two most common throws I make with the Convict. Right here with just a nice hyzer release, letting it swing out and come back to center, maybe a little bit farther on the skip. And then the second being more of a straight pull. You're going to see it just be a straight drive with maybe a little bit of flip up and then a fade at the end. The third throw was actually kind of a mystery. I hadn't thrown this exact shot with a Convict yet, but it was just a high ante. You can watch it trail, after I throw it, watch it trail over the top of the trees and finish in between the two sets of light posts. This is not a shot I usually throw with the Convict. The second set of field throws, you're going to see two line drives. This first one is a normal height that I would use, and then the second one is going to be a lower line drive to simulate a fairway that might have a low canopy protecting the basket that you just need to duck under with a faster disc. And then the third throw will just be another loop out to the right and let it slam back to center type throw. So that's the full video for the Convict. I hope you guys enjoyed. Maybe it was even useful. Again, hopefully the headphones are working better for volume, and if somebody can just give me a thumbs up or let me know if that is true, it'd be much appreciated. Otherwise, we'll keep experimenting and try to get that volume where it needs to be. Thanks, everybody.